Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Strong Sexy You podcast. I'm really excited you are joining us today. I am your host, Aubrey Worek. I am missing the other half of my A team, Alyssa Siegel and Andi Wagner. But joining me is a dear friend of mine that I am really looking forward to you guys to get to know her. Miss is Christine Furman, the one, the only. And Christine, she is not only a thriving mom, but she is the founder and owner of Momspiration 412 and EduPlay Learning. So you guys are going to get to learn a little bit about her business, but the title of today's podcast is called Juggling the Journey, a thriving mom's guide to health, happiness, and on-the-go nutrition. So really why I wanted you to be here today, Chris, is for many reasons, because you're in my neck of the woods,
Yes.
typically in Georgia, but now back at home in Pittsburgh. What you do so well that I think a lot of people struggle with is how do you manage your busy lifestyle? Like, it is never the same day. You're never in one place. You are either driving to Georgia from Pittsburgh or vice versa. You're planning all these different events. And so I'm really excited to learn your system and to kind of tap into it so you can provide our listeners with these hacks. So without further ado, can you just give us a little bit of background on where you are right now in your life and tell us what your week looks like?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm so honored to be here, for sure. So it is always a blessing to be in Pittsburgh. So we lived in Pittsburgh. We moved to Georgia about 3 years ago, and we are loving it. But we come up to Pittsburgh often, like six
Yep.
times a year.
And how long's the drive?
It's 12 hours max. You know, we've made it in like 10 and a half, 11.
I complain about going to Richmond, Virginia. That's 6 hours, and you're like, we do 12
And it's no big deal anymore. Like, it is easy. It's an easy drive.
with 2 kids and a dog.
2 kids and a dog, and the kids are so good. Like this last trip up here, we stopped 2 times.
Wow.
They were in, they were out, they went to the bathroom, we got back in, and we were on our way. It was
That's
the
awesome.
fastest trip that we've taken.
So repetition with this.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And the biggest thing that we do is prep beforehand. So obviously the first trip was hard.
Yeah.
The first trip was hard because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm thinking I can get up in the morning and I can finish packing. Oh, no.
Right?
No.
That's how I pack.
Yeah, that was no good because we didn't leave until 11, noon. We didn't
Yeah.
get in until midnight then.
Yeah.
Like, it was not the best option.
Yeah.
And then we're all stressed and we're all, we're kind of at each other's necks, and that's
Yes.
not the way you want to
Right.
embark on a 12-hour trip with
Right.
someone.
You're in a small space, you're sleep deprived, you're just all crunchy.
Right. So as we continued to do this, we just continued to say, okay, well, we have to pack the night before. We have to not only pack our bags, but we also have to pack the car
Yes.
and be ready.
Yes.
And then in addition, talking about food, talking about fitness, we meal prep essentially. So we're
Yeah.
either packing sandwiches, we're always packing fruits and vegetables and good healthy snacks in the car.
Well, and so this kind of goes along with our Strong Sexy You programs, and what you're really describing is creating an evening ritual. So, it sounds like your evening ritual, it has to be done in the evening.
Yes.
Because what happens is at the top of our day, there's just a different energy to the day.
Yep.
It's like the sun starts to come up, and then ish hits the fan. It never goes according to plan.
Right.
Like, it's
Right.
like the evening ritual makes life more manageable. So packing the car is like, it's a deal breaker.
It
sounds
really
like
is.
in the evening it's a deal breaker. And then what's your, like, I feel like you meal prep better than I do, and I'm
Oh,
like
no.
constantly trading for something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to borrow your meal prep ideas. So one thing that I really noticed, and that you might even be able to hear the kids in the background in the backyard right now, guys, but is that, so you have that evening ritual of packing and then your food prep, but like, what are like some really good things that you've bought before? Like, I know some people pack and they use like different techniques of packing, like cubes, like the packing cubes.
Yes.
I just use like plastic bags.
I just bought a set of packing cubes because someone
Okay.
told me about those, and I
Okay.
was like, I love these.
Yeah,
because then
Andi
it was
uses
like,
packing cubes. That's
okay,
pretty good
well,
too.
this is for my workout clothes. This is for my shirts. This is for my
Okay.
pants. For
Okay.
the kids, they actually pack their own bags.
Which is very impressive.
Yes.
Very
And-
impressive. So how I pack, and Andi sounds like similar to you, like the workout clothes and the attire. I pack for like this is outfit number 1. So it's like underwear goes in here, socks, like it's one outfit per day.
Yes.
And that has helped me a lot.
See, I like that, but then for me, and this is something that we'll talk about, is that struggle of like how I feel on the daily, right? So on the daily, I may not feel like wearing that outfit, and this has been a struggle for me from the time I was in high school. I remember, you know, like, oh, everyone's like, pull your clothes out the night before, and I'm like, but I could wake up in the morning and not feel confident in that outfit.
Yeah.
You know, and whether I'm bloated from the night before or whether, you know, just something is off, I don't want to wear that outfit.
That's a really good point.
So for me, like for the kids, I can easily do that. I can say, here's your whole outfit for the day. Here are your pajamas. They're set.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how I planned. Because even while we're here in Pittsburgh, we still travel from one side of the town to the other. So I had to pack a suitcase from my mom's to stay over here.
Yes.
You know, so that's how I did the kids. Here's your clothes for the day. Here's your pajamas, and their stuff's all ready to go.
Okay.
But for me, I probably brought 10 outfits.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what am I going to wear? Am I going to be cold? What's the weather going to be like? You know?
Right.
But food-wise, though, I always prep and pack like vegetables that are easy to continue to go, right? On the go.
So what are your like go-to veggies for the
carrots,
kids?
cucumbers.
Yeah.
I've done peppers, but if you leave them out, they can kind of get slimy.
Yeah.
So I don't do those that often.
Okay.
Apples are easy.
And do you wash and cut everything up before you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
And then do you just do like Tupperware coolers? Do you do baggies?
So I do a combination. So we
Okay.
have reusable bags now that someone got me, and some containers.
Yep.
And like the kids, sometimes they pack their own little like Lunchable, if you will.
Okay.
You know, so they get excited to be a part of it too. And that's a huge part of my brand. That's a huge part of my business.
And I can see that like specifically with your kids, because so I want you to talk a little bit about EduPlay learning and what you have raised kind, confident, independent kids. And, you know, not to compare, but I can see such a difference. You know, you've helped educate Roman remotely through EduPlay. But what I see with your kids is that they are so involved. Where Roman's an only child in the dynamic, he might be like, oh, mommy's going to do it. And like, I'd love to hear your takeaway, like maybe like a big takeaway of like what is your main trick to like getting them into being independent? Or I mean, they just might be born that way, I don't know.
Well, and it really has been training is not the right word, but modeling from the moment they were born. You know, so at 16 months old, Ella was helping me with the laundry. Like I literally have a recording of it, because I remember specifically saying, you're 16 months old. I want you to remember this when you're 16 years old, that you do know how to do laundry. You know? But that was something like, I say, do you want to help mommy? You want to help me do this? So we always make it fun. It's not necessarily a forcing, because when you force someone to do something, their resistance pops up. But whenever you are saying, hey, this is fun, do you want to help me? Or, hey, I really need a favor. I really need your help. You know, they feel now a part of something. You know, go get me this. Go do this. That tone definitely is, they hear it.
Okay.
You know, and so that has really been, I think, a game changer for us.
So this is really good feedback, because you know, I went through a point where it was effective for Roman. Instead of to ask him to do something, of course he's going to say no, I would make it a direction. Like I would say, go do this, you know. But he's 6.5, and now he's at the age where I'm really realizing my energy is changing. Like, I'm like, I don't want to boss him around. I don't want him to feel like every move he makes, like, no, Roman, you got to do this. So I need to change my parenting, because I've noticed that his demeanor will mirror mine if I, and believe me, I've been cranky the last couple weeks. I don't want him mirroring that.
Right.
So, okay. So
But
now.
that's a good point, though. Let me back up just a little bit, because you made a really good point about directives and asking. And obviously there's a time and a place for those, right?
Right, kind of like fitness. I want, Christine, do you want to do 20 push-ups right now?
Right.
No,
I don't
Christine
want
got to
to
do 20 push-ups.
Right, exactly. You know, and instead of saying, buddy, do you want to clean up your toys? Well, of course we're going to say no.
Right.
it's time to clean up your toys now. You know, so it's not really it's not really asking them those kind of things.
Yeah.
But whenever it's like helping and it's like being a part of something, I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna ask their feedback. You know, and there could be different opinions on that. You know.
Yeah.
But for us, it's worked in our family. You know, I'm gonna ask you your opinion. It's like that respect.
Yeah.
You know, you're giving them respect, they're giving you respect.
Yeah.
You know, and whenever they're not, whenever things are a little bit off, you reel them in real quick. You know, you don't let it continue to drag out.
Yeah.
So if something does happen during the day, maybe we're out and, you know, some behavior happened or disrespect or, you know, they kind of know. Obviously, they get a look or they get a little bit of talking to at that moment, right? But then when we get in the car, I often say to them, do you think that that behavior was appropriate?
Yeah.
Do you feel that that was respectful? Do you feel that you were being kind to that person, your brother, me, you know?
This is a huge reminder for myself, so it doesn't always come off as like scolding and reprimanding. And I'm just relating it again to fitness. Like, instead of somebody like, I can't believe you ate that, Aubrey, and food shaming me or something, it's like, well, Aubrey, how did that make you feel? Or like, how did that food make you feel? How or why did you do that? Or like, or whatever, you know, just kind of talking more. So that makes good sense, and kind of almost, I don't want to say treating my son like he's my client, but I do have to see it through that lens. So,
and I like that, you know, how does that make you feel food-wise, too? So that's something that we do with the kids as well. You know, we really limit...
Instead of saying good food, bad food.
Exactly. We limit the sugars. We limit, you know, the bad food, if you will. You know, we try to eat more wholesome food, but we are going to have treats, you know, especially when we're up here. I mean, people are constantly taking us out. We're going to parks. We're going to, you know, and we just talk about, well, how does that sugar make your body feel?
Yes.
How are you reacting because of certain things?
Yeah.
And we talk about, like, listen, you know, we're maybe at Idlewild right now and they want Dippin' Dots, but listen, we're going to go to the zoo and I know you're going to get Dippin' Dots there. Yeah. So instead of getting it here, we're going to get it here.
Yes, you have to budget that time.
Exactly.
We do that with Roman a lot, and I notice what your kids do really well is that they have they're open to, you know, a variety of foods, it seems, and they appreciate the nourishment of healthy food.
Yes, and I'll tell you a trick for that too. So our trick whenever we were, because my health journey really started when we got married, right? So in college, growing up, we didn't have great healthy eating habits, right? But as I continued on through college and watching other people, I knew I, number one, had to move my body. Like, I knew that I was not built and made the same way as other people.
Yeah.
I have best friends that they don't work out and they still are tiny and they look amazing.
Yeah.
And I knew that was not my body composition.
Yeah.
I need to go and do Zumba and I need to, you know, just do the classes.
Yeah. Move
my body. And obviously it's good for us, you know. But I knew
you weren't a stranger of hard work.
Exactly.
And I got that too growing up. You know, I mean, looking back, it wasn't that I was like, you know, I wasn't the skinny girl. I wasn't overweight, but I knew, like, no, I had to do the work to get the result I wanted.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I felt. Like, I know in my head I want to look a different way, or I feel like I look a different way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I want to keep working towards that.
Yeah.
So then, what were we talking about? How did that continue?
Well, you know, how does food make you feel from the child perspective, and kind of balancing out the festive eating moments with the healthy eating moments.
Yes.
And, you know, we kind of, you know, spiraled, but this is a good conversation, from, you know, what were your go-to snacks, your easy grab and goes, your carrots, your cold veggies. Some things that I like, I don't know if you like, I get Roman the freeze-dried fruit mangoes.
Oh.
There's different like freeze-dried fruit that are organic. He really likes those because they're crunchy.
Yeah.
He does like plain rice cakes.
Yes, my kids do
You know,
too.
if you can go the plain route instead of getting these things that are like overly, you know, artificial sugar
Right. Absolutely.
Get them started like that now. And a lot of times parents, I don't know.
The food. I'll interject when you're done.
Yeah, what I've noticed, you know, with parents, they always say, oh no, you know, well, I should have started younger and my kids won't eat that. Well, here's one thing. If you can just think of one thing per week, like raw honey, for example, has been a great sweetener in my son's diet. Pure maple sugar has been a great sweetener. When I grew up, it was just white refined sugar. I remember my parents would have this cup of like white refined sugar on the countertop, and we would dip our strawberries in it and just eat it.
Yep.
And it was like crack cocaine. I was like, oh my God, and he doesn't have that. He will never know what that is like. Now, he has all these other kind of challenges with food, and Roman will even say like, oh, my eczema acted up probably because I ate such and such. But what Dan and I have to do a better job at, and I don't mean to throw my husband under the bus with this, but Dan can be people would be surprised. Dan could be like, no, Roman, don't eat that because it can lead to type 2 diabetes or something like that. But that, even though that is true, there are people out there that have these conditions, and I don't want Roman to be like, I can't eat that because it'll give me type 2 diabetes. So there's a tactful way to go about educating our kids. Like, you know what? If we eat too much sugar at night or chew those gummies and don't brush our teeth, you will get a cavity.
Yes.
And that is, it's not a matter of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're eating all these things, giving our kids ADD or ADHD. It's a matter of like, okay, well, maybe angle it a different way. Angle it a different way. Like, you don't want to go to the dentist and your tooth is going to hurt. And everyone's kid is different. But I do see parents sometimes. It's funny because some of my friends, they know that I'm a nutrition specialist, but they'll be like, well, this food is healthy and this is what I give to my kid. And I'm not judging them. And I'm like, yeah, but we have these dyes in the food and the high fructose corn syrup. The back of the package will always set you free.
Yes.
And so just pick and choose your battles. It doesn't have to be all clean eating, but it should be, you got to be aware. And just by focusing on one thing. So
absolutely. So there's a couple things now I'm going to interject. Well, one, you were talking about like my kids are all about trying new foods, right? Yeah. So my health journey really started when I was getting married, and obviously, trying to get fit for your wedding dress, right?
Yeah.
So I started dabbling into running, 5K running, kind of watching, but what really got me on my journey was after I had my daughter, I joined this group, and it was really informational for me because it really led into reading the labels, checking that there's sugar and salt added to everything, that we were typically used to eating, So then it just helped me to continue on my journey of saying, okay, well, I'm not going to buy this spaghetti sauce because it has all this added sugar, but I'm going to look for a different alternative, right? Yeah. So I continued on that journey, and then as the kids continued to, be able to eat, we, started doing one meal I can remember distinctly was like turkey burgers, quinoa, broccoli, right? Okay. So instead of, like, maybe the kids didn't want their burger together. They wanted their bun separate. They wanted their burger separate. I said, I don't care how you eat it. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Right. I do like a chicken stir fry, and they don't like everything mixed together. Okay. So before I add everything for Dan and my Dan, I give them chicken. I give them chicken separately. I give them the rice or quinoa, and then their veggies. Yeah. So I'm not making a separate meal, but I am altering it to meet their food needs.
You can bet there could be a compromise there.
Exactly.
There could definitely be food compromises, so you don't have to feel that you fall victim to that. I know Dan's mom growing up, she was such a good cook, still is. But he would always say, she'd make us all these separate meals because she loved doing it, But now, a lot of times people don't have time for that. Right. So I think that's a really good tip. One thing that I want you guys to definitely follow Christine for those of you who have kids or you just want to try this, you do a great job at making food very fun and creative. So it's like, she's kind of like this creative, crafty little artist with food. And that was really helpful for Roman, like if you're having different snacks. Right. And I think
a shark banana.
A shark banana.
Yeah. The ghost and a ghost out of bananas and then a pumpkin out of oranges for Halloween. Oh, yes. Easy treats. Yes. Or snack ideas that are creative. You can take a clementine orange and turn it into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
You know?
And to start to use your creative brain. So, your background is in education, obviously. And what I want to model more off of what you do, so many things, but it's like, okay, Aubrey, dust your imagination off the shelf. And that's what we forget to do as adults. Like, use your imagination. As adults, we are now in a different brainwave state where it's so hard to be like, well, I can't think like a kid. And then I'm like, wait a minute, but I am very artistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm artistic with what I do for a living, so I can be artistic with food.
Yeah.
And there's some things that maybe are definitely I'm not great at. Dan is awesome at playing with Roman, very imaginative. For me, I get very easily distracted right now. I'm very much the physical person, like, let's go out and like do something crazy, where Dan, he can focus on a task and play trains and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it is about, really to say, you got this.
Yeah.
But you do a great job at being like, you could put it in one pretty package for people
Mm-hmm.
to say, like, listen, okay, Christine's programs, it's like, okay, are you a mall shopper or are you going to Target? Like, I want to go to Target, let me focus my attention better on these things that I want and need, instead of like all the distractions all over.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I also want to kind of move into, so we have your evening ritual kind of established. I think that's a big takeaway. But, one thing that you and I were talking about off camera was, where are you on your fitness journey? Like, we cross paths as business entrepreneurs. We're helping each other, supporting each other with our
Yes.
businesses. And we've both been in each other's business, where Roman has done EduPlay and you've done my Strong Sexy You programs.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about maybe like where you are with your fitness goals, because you have a lot going on and traveling is so hard.
Yes.
So maybe like what you've always adapted some Strong Sexy You stuff to your routine.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So the morning rituals that you incorporate into your programs, I've definitely adapted a few of those, from different programs, and said, okay, now I'm going to add lemon water to my morning,
Yes.
or, just really focusing on what am I putting in my body, what am I making sure that I'm getting my vegetables, my protein, my fruit, and that's something that the kids understand as well,
To balance
every
it out.
meal you need to make sure that you're having your protein, your vegetables, and sure, you can have a fruit, but we're not getting dessert every meal, you know, and that's something that as we travel, dessert creeps in so easily for us, because it's like we're all out, everyone's getting dessert, everyone's doing it, right?
Everyone's doing it, yeah.
And for me, it's always been that struggle, well, why can't I enjoy it?
Yes.
Why can't I enjoy it like everyone else?
Yeah.
And I was talking to my husband about that, and I said, everyone's like, oh, you look so great. And I'm like, but I don't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel great on the inside. I feel bloated. I feel like I've gained weight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I work out. I feel like I eat healthy, really well most of the time. People talk 80-20, and I was like, I'm definitely 80-20, And so it's like, what do I need to pinpoint to continue to make that needle move?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just is like, sometimes I snap and saying like, you know what? You need to focus on what you know.
Yes.
Cut out the gluten for me, cut out the dairy, cut out the sugar. Those three things right there are going to make a huge difference in my inflammation, in my bloating,
Yes. And that has been really helpful. I want you to keep going, but like, that focus with Strong Sexy You, where it's like, okay, we're going to focus on one thing this week.
Yes.
And we're going to remove dairy. And we talk about, why would dairy be causing a concern? And a lot of people, we like to use the umbrella term of inflammation, and that is true. But why is that? And so we definitely educate our participants on how the body assimilates it. And right now, if we're having processed foods, I know my diet is not as organic as it usually is. So I'm noticing hormonal breakouts. And I know it. Like you said, you're like, I know if I cut these things out.
Yep.
So you got to ebb and flow with your dieting. We could call it like flexible dieting, where it's like, all right, I have built up enough of this in my system that it needs to go.
Yes.
It doesn't have to go forever,
Right.
but it needs to go for now.
I mean, one thing that I remember distinctly from one of the programs was nut butter.
Yeah.
We all think that, okay, this is a healthy alternative, and then it was like, all right, we're going to cut it out. And we all question, like,
Right,
why
just
are we
one,
questioning?
just for a week. Yeah.
Right, why are we cutting this out? I thought this was a healthy alternative.
Yeah.
And then we realized how often we actually went to things with nuts in it.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
And I've noticed things like
Driving that fat content up, making it harder to make your metabolism at a fever pitch. It was too much fat in the diet. It's not that nut butter is bad, but it's like, okay, do we need it every day, and do we need it multiple times a day? And for some people, that might be kind of a hard pill to swallow, because if you were to tell me this 10 years ago, I'd be like, don't you dare touch my peanut butter. Like, you are, but get back, demon. So now, we understand, once you know what you know, you can't unknow it.
Yes.
And once you
So true.
start to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, I just need to give my liver a freaking break for a week from all the fat.
Yep, it's so true. And it's been so helpful. And just keeping my mind like, understanding. You're right, what you know, you can't unknow it.
Yeah.
And it's so important to me, and it's something that I want to continue to share to the moms in my community. Because there's, like you said earlier, there's so many issues with ADHD, behavioral issues, and I contribute a lot of that to the food that goes into our body,
Yes.
our environment, as well as even technology.
Yes.
All of these things play a part in our children and
Yeah.
their behavior and how they're responding.
And it is. And I tell folks listening on here, your parents, don't be shy to go down that rabbit hole. Oftentimes we want to plug our ears or, play the ostrich, and there's no, ignorance can be bliss up to a certain point. And I want to, there was a documentary, I'm sure if you are in our age bracket, you remember it, back in the day, called Super Size Me. And with, I think, whatever his name, Morgan, somebody. But I remember in this documentary specifically, they took, do you guys remember the term alternative high school kids? Alternative? It was where the bad kids go.
Oh, right.
Right, so they called it, I went to alternative if you got in trouble too many times. So they did the little experiment, the human experiment, where they didn't feed them those standardized school lunches, and their behaviors changed dramatically.
Wow, I didn't know this.
Yes. So
That's
that was the one
awesome.
element they changed. They couldn't change the home life, right? But they changed there was less bullying, less fighting. I'm sure that they do this in prisons too, where it's like suddenly we change food. Now, is food the answer for everything? No, but I'll tell you what, it is medicine. Because if you're eating every day, that is your supplement.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, with technology, you and I have talked about this. What happens is with technology, it drains the electrons from the kid's body, from our body.
Yeah.
So your kids they're losing energy from being in front of a screen. So they need to go outside and play just like we do. So it's a matter of like, don't think that it's not a thing, because it's a thing.
It is. It totally is. I can feel when I'm on my phone working, I can just feel my body just like depleting.
Yeah.
And I have to turn it off, and I have to go outside.
Yeah.
You
Take
need
a
those
break.
breaks. Our kids need those breaks. And I've noticed a drastic behavior problem or issue when my kids get up and they say, here's a lazy Saturday morning, right? I just want to sleep in. And they're like, hey, Mom, can we go watch a show? Can we get on our tablets? And I'm like, sure. That morning, their behavior is totally different than on other mornings.
Yeah.
Because they started their day off in front of a screen.
Yeah.
And it's just totally different. I can tell right away.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a matter too, now that you know that, just like when like there's a troublemaker food. There, we can have the troublemaker foods for a little while, and then we take the troublemaker foods out. Technology, okay, you can have it on Saturday. I love Saturday morning cartoons, but do we want to create that ritual every morning with the child?
Right.
So it's something to ask yourself if you're having behavioral issues or attention problems, something like that. And it's just ask the right questions, and you will find that solution.
And I even bring it up to them, so they know and they recognize it themselves.
Yes.
I say, do you know why you're acting this way?
Yeah.
Do you see how you're behaving differently than
Yes.
normal? And they're like, you're right.
So actually what she's teaching is very, very powerful, and it's actually a form of meditation. So meditation means to bring awareness to. And that's really what you're doing, is that you're shining that light right at the issue. It's not them, it's just the behavior to say, hey, do you see that? So that is like you're already raising children with great awareness. So that's powerful. That is so powerful. So before we get to like the fun questions, I want Oh, I wanted to. We could talk for a long time. Like,
I know,
this is
we
good
could.
stuff.
This is great.
There's so many things. But right now, how you were saying, you're like, okay, I'm waking up bloated and that sort of thing. So, I think what you've done so well, because you've gone through a lot of the Strong Sexy You programs, and you've adapted the different techniques that we've done. And there's places in your life where you'll jump into the program, and then other times where you're like, hey, you have to be very business focused, and you still have the habits from our programs, but you might not be actively participating in one.
Right.
So for example, like, we have a program coming up called Lift Off 2.0, which you guys definitely want to check out.
Yes.
And we change the programs constantly because we know more. We're doing more fun little experiments that to see how people respond. But you and I, as we were talking offline, is that I said, you know what, when you're ready, I want to do like a liver detox with you.
Right.
And to go all in, because even though we do that with our programs, like, we might not go as quote unquote hardcore. Like,
Right.
It has to be like, okay, I'm ready to devote 9 solid days to like just paying homage to my body, because sometimes we need that. We need a bigger reboot than what the initial reboot is.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I've been there. I remember, even after I had Roman and I dieted for a show after that, and I thought, okay, I got my body back. And then I didn't.
Yes.
I
That
did it.
happened to me.
It hit me so hard. I was like, oh my gosh, I busted my butt. And I had to learn this new body.
Yeah. I totally can relate. So after Ella, my goal was, this may sound silly, but this was a big goal for me, was I want to go back to school, back to teaching, not looking like I had a baby.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I had Ella in March. I didn't go back until September. So I
Okay.
busted my butt
Yeah.
those 6 months
Yeah.
to make sure that when I went back to school, I looked good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
it's a great goal. I mean,
Yeah.
you need those external drivers.
And it did. It worked. And then after I had Alex, it was much harder. Right? Now you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Now you have a toddler and an infant.
Yeah.
I didn't have that long break. I had Alex in December. So I wasn't able to, I only had 3 months off with him.
Okay.
And then, a couple months and then a summer.
And 3
right?
months is not a lot of time.
No.
I say anyone who's just had a kid, like, give yourself that grace. Give yourself at least a year. I'm not saying to sit around for a year. I mean, to be like, you know what, this is going to take some time. I'm
Right.
getting to know this new version
Yes.
of me, and I'm going to make it thrive. But I have to just, it's almost just like, you know what, just lean into those emotions. I would tell myself this, like, lean into it. If you're happy, sad, mad about it, and just know it's temporary.
Yes. And I definitely followed specific postpartum programs, obviously things that were safe. But with Alex, the schedule was different.
Yeah.
I had to jump back into work a lot sooner than I did with Ella. So now I'm working on top of taking care of 2 kids.
Wow.
On top of my husband traveling.
Wow.
So when he travels, our eating's not the same because I'm doing all of it, right?
Wow.
I
Yeah.
have to cook, I have to clean up, I have to prep, I have to,
It's like you're single mom in it.
Exactly. So it was much harder, and I feel still, Alex is 6 and a half, I never got back to where I wanted to after Alex.
Yeah.
And then things just continued to compile. I started the business.
Yeah.
We moved,
Yeah.
and then we traveled, and it's an ebb and flow. It's always been an
Yeah.
ebb and flow with me,
Yeah.
where, sometimes I look great, and then sometimes it's like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. Like, why can't I enjoy things that most people can? But it's like, you know what? This is my body.
Yeah.
I have to remember that.
Right.
Like, I need to
Right.
snap out of that.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think that I'm excited for you to do the next program with us, or
Yes.
whatever that may be, because I have been in your shoes when my metabolism kind of crapped the bed, and I was like, I felt like that. I was like, why do I have to diet so hard to, I gather my weight in my midsection.
Yeah.
And that's typically where I gain it. And so it would be like, even if I gained 3 pounds, it looked much like I gained more.
Yes.
Right? So it wasn't like I was just gaining my booty, right? I
Right.
wish, or my boobs. But that would be great. But I thought, okay, there's a missing link.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone has that missing link personally, just because I've gone through it. So I'd love to help you figure out that missing link, because then you're going to figure out like, oh my God, this is right where I want my metabolism. But I went through that point where I was like, what is happening? I got abducted by aliens. What is going on?
Yep. That is how I feel. Because
Yeah.
I feel like I've worked, right? I do the work. I do the eating. Like,
Yeah.
what is that missing link?
Yeah.
So I am excited to dive
Yeah.
into the program,
Yeah.
you know, really just figure it out.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's just waking up more confident, you
It
know?
is. It
It's
is.
just being confident in your body
Yes.
to be able to go and do those things.
And
reach
to
your
like
goals.
appreciate your body. You know,
Yes.
I think what I've learned about this latest season of my life, weight loss, weight gain are temporary.
Mhm.
But either way, like, how can you appreciate this this body right now is what it's doing for you in this moment? Like,
Yes.
and you want to feel good, even it doesn't matter about the number of the scale. You want like your gut health to feel good
Right.
and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, you're doing all the right things. Like, you know, if you talk to Christine, I mean, she does functional medicine. She goes down all the different directions. It's a matter of like just saying like keep asking the right questions. You will figure it out.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
But you do look fabulous, but I know you want to feel fabulous.
Yes.
And yeah, life can just catch up with us.
Yes. And I feel like that really is what happened. You know, it was like, okay, this was the season of life where my goal was to raise my 2 kids. It was
Yeah.
to start a business, you know,
Yes.
and it wasn't to just throw my health away,
Right.
right? Because I was doing that. However, it was probably more mediocre than it has been in the past, you know,
Yeah.
because when I had Ella, I wasn't running a business.
Right.
You know, I wasn't
Right.
homeschooling my kids.
Yeah.
I'm homeschooling. I'm running a business. I
Yeah.
travel a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so now's the time to
Yeah.
say, okay, it's ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. And
You
to
know?
have that system. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And that I think that's important. You know, that's why I always tell people, actually the majority of people who sign up for Strong Sexy You stuff, they have a love for fitness already, and they feel like, okay, I just need that extra accountability,
Mhm.
like anything.
Yes.
Just like, so I want you to tell us, right before we go into our rapid fire fun questions, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you have coming down the pike for those who are listening, who are like, you know, I want supplemental education for my kids. I would like to be involved in some of these EduPlay meetup sessions, or I want to hear about homeschooling option because it does have a stigma. So what's like happening for you in the next 3 months?
Oh, I love that. A lot of things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we have just continued to be growing, evolving, constantly changing because we are making sure that we're meeting the needs of all the families,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when Momspiration 412 Worldwide started, it was about community for families.
Okay.
Bringing families together primarily in the Pittsburgh area
Mhm.
because that's where we were based and located. So in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of groups of people, right?
Now, is that
So-
your Facebook group that you have now?
There-
That people, like, if they wanted to join, like, what, if I just wanted to see, like, what are your meetups and that sort
Yes,
of thing,
if
and your
you-
special events?
If you are in the Pittsburgh area, there's a Momspiration 412 Pittsburgh. That is just for Pittsburgh moms.
And you go everywhere. It's not just kind of like on one side of town.
That's what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right? We go to the North Hills, we go to the South Hills, we go to the East, the West. I mean, we are all over the
Yeah.
city. So that's why it's really important because we do have many groups in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh alone.
Yeah.
So that's where Momspiration 412 started. It was about the community. It is now branching to be able to be more specific per area. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have Pittsburgh, and we also have the Augusta branch because that's where I
Yeah.
live now.
Yeah.
So now it's pretty cool because that's how I originally saw the plan,
Yeah.
like having these separate groups per cities. And now here we are, we have 2 of them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. And then in addition to that, so when the pandemic happened, I had to pivot, you know,
Yeah.
because we were doing live sessions. I started educating my kids as well as other kids
Yeah.
and families because they were looking for how can I connect with my child on a different level, right? How can I actually play? How can I educate? So EduPlay Learning came out of all of that because I love to educate still.
Yeah.
That's what I do. You know,
Yeah.
I do it with my kids constantly. You know, they have a question. I don't say, well, you know, you'll learn about that someday, or you don't need to know about that. Let's figure it out. Let me know what your question is and let me help you answer it. You know, their curiosity and their why questions are so powerful.
It's so powerful.
You know, because they just want to know. They just want to learn.
Yeah.
And if you squash that at a young age, that is going to squash their curiosity, you know?
Yes. No, I think that's great. I want to check our time here too. Okay. We're doing okay.
So now what we've done is we've now pivoted and we have turned our EduPlay learning into subscription boxes where families all over the U.S. can be part of EduPlay learning. And like you said earlier, we do cooking, we do math, we do reading, we do songs. It's a very all-inclusive curriculum, very multi-sensory, meeting the needs of all learners. And then we just continue focusing, right? We have a reading program, which actually was inspired by Roman. You know, whenever you were looking for something for him, I said, I can do that. We can make that happen. I taught my kids how to read. I sure can help other families how to read. So we have a reading program, we have math programs, but we also have the EduPlay Learning Academy, which is really helping families that maybe do want to homeschool their kids. And how do I do that? You know,
now what's the ages, would you say?
Right now, I would say the Momspiration meetups, those are all ages, you know. But the EduPlay Learning is 2 to 7, 8, and it's going to continue to grow as my kids continue to age.
Awesome.
So really lots of opportunities, lots of ways to even have consultations and just kind of chat with a certified teacher, because sometimes it's just that. Let me just talk to someone that knows how to do this. So then that way I'm confident. And I can help teach my kids.
It's building that confidence, the support.
Excellent.
Sure. Well, we might have a part 2 or 3 or 4 of this convo, but I want to do some fun stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, on the personal side, outside of your professional life, what are your hobbies and interests?
So my biggest thing is hang out with my family. Hang out with my friends.
Yes, you're such a great person. Like, you're always family.
I love it.
Family is so good.
Like
and you have so much energy. You're like the extrovert.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But like we go outside, like just moving our bodies, right? We go outside and we play kickball in our driveway. We play tennis and we go swimming, and so definitely doing all of those things, but then also building the community by including other families in that, and just saying, hey, we're all going to the pool today, or hey, we're all going to the playground. Who wants to come? You know? So it's being able to be with my kids, but then also I have now that community of like, I get to be with adults too.
Yes, which
the
is
kids
nice.
Get to play, we get to chat, which is, so those are definitely my biggest things for sure.
So in this season of life, where you are right now, what is your spirit animal?
I would have to say a butterfly.
Okay, why the butterfly?
And this actually goes back to my childhood even. As a child, my dad made me these enormous monarch butterfly wings. I think I'm going to have to bust them out.
We just made some.
Did
in
you?
bug camp. We have them downstairs.
Really?
We have to take a picture. Okay.
Yeah, they're huge. So I was in 3rd grade. I wore them probably 3 or 4 Halloweens because I loved them. Like out of wire hangers, welded them together. My mom sewed the fabric. They spray painted it. They were gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
So Ella, I've been talking to her, so I was like, I'm gonna have to bust these out, right?
Yeah.
And then we were at the zoo, and there was butterfly wings there. And my mom's like, you gotta take a picture with these butterfly wings.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking about it. It's kind of like I just continue to emerge. I just continue to spread my wings. I don't let things limit me. I'm just gonna keep learning. I'm gonna stay focused, and I'm just gonna keep expanding.
Oh, that is so you. I love that. And that's so positive too. Because what I would say is this season of my life, my spirit animal is the honey badger. Because he's like, here I'm the butterfly. And I'm like, rah, rah. See? Beginning and young. That's why I hang out with you, Chris, to be more like you. I don't know why you hang out with me.
Because I want to be fit like you.
He wants to be the honey badger and start biting people's heads off. Okay, in this season of life, what is your theme song?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Do you have a theme song? Like,
come on,
if you were like walking down the road, what would your theme song be? I feel like you could totally bust out like "I'm Every Woman."
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like Whitney Houston. I just think like this, like because you like gather all the women and you're just, I could totally see you.
That is
I'm
so
Every
true.
Woman, yeah.
just constantly being blessed. Like, I just feel so blessed in this life, in this season.
Yeah.
You know, and
You exude that magnitude of gratitude.
thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. This was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
guys, you can definitely connect with Christine Furman, please, on the socials. A common place is Facebook, so make sure you take a look at Momspiration 412 Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are interested in any of our Strong Sexy You programs, drop it in the comments. You guys know how to get a hold of us. Like and subscribe, press that magic button, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye.